She's like 5 and she went, "Punk."
Oh.
Oh, no. This is a child who we thought was a genius.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Okay, we're live. Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Hi,
Here.
leaders,
Here.
Anderson,
Here.
Herder.
Yes, here.
So the record show that Mike Jenner is us.
Did everybody have a chance to look over the minutes? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second. Good motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Move on to the public hearing. I'll read the statement. The public hearings will be conducted pursuant to the board's rules of procedure as adopted May 26, 1988. We will first hear the report of the planning director on the detailed information and observations regarding the request, if not done so in written form prior to the hearing. Next, we will take the testimony of the applicant and his or her witnesses. Upon completion of the applicant's testimony, I will call upon members of the audience wishing to make a statement concerning the request. Persons in favor of the request shall be heard first, followed by those opposed to it. At any time during the presentation of testimony, the members of the board may interrupt to ask questions or to make comments on what has been said. Upon completion of the testimony, the applicant will be allowed to, to make a closing statement to the board. Upon completion of the applicant's closing statement, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing on the request. After the public hearing has been closed, we will then hear the recommendation, if any, of the planning director. And upon completion of all discussion, I will entertain a motion from the members of the board regarding the disposition of the applicant. Each speaker addressing this board shall step forward to the podium and state their name and address before proceeding with their testimony or evidence evidence. I would ask that you spell your name or your last name, please. The board shall not be bound by strict rules of evidence, but does reserve the right to exclude evidence or testimony that may be deemed to be irrelevant, immaterial, incompetent, or unduly repetitious. As chairman, I will rule on all questions relating to the admissibility of evidence, which may be overruled by a majority of the board. The board may grant continuances in cases for good cause shown to any interested party who has entered his appearance. The board may at any time request a continuance of a hearing for the purpose of giving further notice, taking further evidence, gathering further information, touring the proposed site, or for such other reasons as the board may find sufficient. In such case, we shall state the specific reason for the continuance and set a date and time and place when the matter shall be continued. All official actions of this board will be made at a public hearing by motion made, seconded, and a polling of the membership. If conditions are imposed, such conditions shall be included in the motion or amendment thereto. Our final decision will be prepared in writing and will be part of the public record of this board. Excuse me. Once the board has reached a decision on the case, that decision shall be final. Section 335.18 of the Code of Iowa states any person or persons jointly or severely aggravated by any decision of the Board of Adjustments under the provision of Chapter 335, or any taxpayer or any officer, department, board, or bureau of the county may present to the court of record a petition duly verified setting forth that such decision was illegal in whole or in part, specifying the grounds of the illegality. Such petition shall be presented to the court within 30 days after the filing of the decision in the office of the board. Do we have a motion to open public hearing for case number ZA 2024-02?
Move to open public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Okay, well, ask the applicant to please come forward. Okay.
I'm Mike Winter, 5416 6th Avenue, Council Bluffs, Iowa. I'm the lawyer representing the appellant, which is at LLC, DC Development, I think it is, DC Housing Solutions, Inc., and Dan Clare is the president, and he's here with me. When he bought this property, he had, and I circulated,
Yes, you may.
he had a picture of the property. And apparently the building that was there was too close to the right of way according to the ordinance. You know how many feet it was too close? But I think that your decision that he can't rebuild it is because he's too close to the right of way, right?
Correct.
Well, how close is he?
I want to say it was at 50 feet, I think, from the right. Around about 50 feet.
Well,
I
how
can
far
follow-
do you have to be from the right?
75.
75, so he's 25 feet too close? All
I can
right,
Just give you the,
all right, well, I don't think anybody's gonna object to this, but he has basically two reasons. When he bought this property, he planned to rebuild the structure, and the structure had a foundation and the first floor was still there, so it wasn't all missing. He's already put electrical, and he's dug a well, and he's hooked it up to water, and then he finds out from Mr. Wyatt that he's in violation of the code. I would point out, Mr. Wyatt and I, myself, both made the same mistake. The statute says 60% or more of its replacement cost. And in Matt's letter, he said code, and then in my appeal, I said code. It's 60% of costs, replacement cost. And so if it's been destroyed to 60% or more of the replacement cost, then he has to rebuild it according to code. Dan's going to explain to you what money he's put into this, and he's been in the construction business for 50 years, probably. He's an old guy like me, and he's been around a long time. And he's going to tell you that he doesn't think that the original structure was destroyed more than 60% of the replacement cost. It had a first floor, and it had a foundation and a basement. And according to the code, you don't count the foundation, but he says he can put a roof on this, and he bought it so that he would live there someday. So one of our issues is we aren't beyond the 60% threshold to rebuild it. And our other is that everybody in the neighborhood is too close to that road. And we're only 25 feet off. And if you think we need a variance, we're asking that he be able to rebuild the house where it's at, 25 feet too close to the right of way. But we don't think we have to get there. And he'll tell you that he doesn't think that he's going to exceed 60% of the replacement cost according to the code. Simple as that.
the correction on the 50 feet. Currently, that foundation sits 25 feet from the road right away, not 50. It sits 25, so it'd be another 50 feet back. Make it conform.
So you're supposed to be 75 feet back from the right of way,
Yes,
and he's 25 feet?
correct.
All right. I think that's a gravel road, isn't it?
Highway 59.
Pardon?
It's,
Highway 59.
Okay.
it is.
All right. Well, I haven't driven out there, so I don't know, but. All right, I'd like you, Dan, to tell them what you put into it already and, take it from there.
Okay. You want me
Yeah.
to come up
Yeah,
there?
come on up, please.
Okay.
Give your name and address.
Okay.
Are you here to protest?
No. In case they need me.
I'm Dan Clare. I've been a contractor for, I've been working construction my whole life, I guess.
What's your address, Dan?
I live at, 1040 205th Avenue, Pacific Junction right now.
Okay.
I live in a metal building.
Thank you.
Yeah. And, anyway, it's a long drive, but that's all right. Anyway, but I bought this property up here thinking, I mean, it's got a big old barn on it, but I'm not scared of that. I can tin them and fix them up and make them look like something. And then another building up at the top, I can make for a shop. Cause my daughter graduated from Metro Tech as a diesel mechanic. Why she chose that field, I don't know, but it's a tough one. But anyway, so I was gonna put a floor in that, clean that building up, and then she could have it when I got done. But anyhow, so I got a well in there. That was 15,000. I buried water up to the shed and down below and got the pressure tank inside the basement down there where it wouldn't freeze. So anyway, and then I got a 200 amp service put in there so we could have electricity. And, I'd just like to be able to put the same house right back on the same foundation. And I mean, it's 1,260 some square feet. It's a nice size home, 3 bedrooms on each floor. With a full basement, it had a bathroom in the basement, concrete floor and block walls. I mean, the house is built very good. And so I'd like to be able to put it back on there.
But you tore that house down.
Well, I didn't tear it completely down, but it'd been open so long, the walls were so deteriorated. It had to have, after it had a little dab of fire there in the north wall, it's like 5 feet and went straight up. And what caused it, I don't know, nobody ever said. But I would imagine it was electric heater because it's the middle of winter, January or something. Anyway, so it had been open and the doors are open. The drywall was ruined from the fire trucks, the hoses and everything, so and the insulation was all shot and it had to be completely rewired. Wasn't saving nothing. And the roof was shot, so I thought she would just get the walls out of the way and go back new, and everything would be brand new, and nobody, how could you go wrong doing that?
And you've spent how much money now?
Oh, I got about
25?
135,000 in it.
I mean, putting it back.
Oh, putting it back? You're just looking at a few tuba force, some installations, and I can do it all myself. And the wiring, I mean, it's all in there.
Are any of those upgrades of things that you did, the electrical things that you did, you upgraded so that you could get to
No,
the
it's-
other building
It
and?
was all done by Glencoe.
By who?
Glencoe Electric.
Glencoe Electric, yeah. Yep,
That you had to pay for that?
yeah,
And did you have to pay extra to get it up to the other building? Not just the house?
yeah, I did
So
that.
that wouldn't be in the cost
I
of what
did.
you did.
I did the digging, and they laid the pipe in there and pulled the wire through the pipe.
I'm just saying the expenses to get up to there would not be included in the expenses you're adding up. Is that right?
Well, when you're self-employed, you don't worry about your time. You just hope there's a little left on the end of the job.
They had to do something extra,
Oh, who did?
the company. The company that ran it up to the other building?
Oh, I mean, that's been taken care of. I did it. I do the digging and they laid the pipe in and did that, but I put the water lines in and the hydrants and all that stuff.
So you'd already torn the house down when you found out that you couldn't rebuild it in the same spot.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, I was done. We'd moved the excavator out before I ever got a letter in the mail saying I needed a demolition permit. And I didn't feel like I was demoing it. I was just gonna clean up what needed torn out and build it back new. The house was clear full of, the whole basement was clear full. I never seen anybody save their laundry detergent. Okay, I mean, that whole basement was full of that, old clothes and I've done a lot of them, cleaned up a lot of houses and that's gotta be the worst one, but it's got a perfect floor in there. And I thought it was well worth replacing it, fixing it back new.
Tell me about what you didn't have to demo. What was the pieces that were good that you could still leave and keep and start fresh with?
All the foundation and the whole first floor, all the good floor joists, 2x10s.
Okay, 4 exterior walls. What was the extent of demo on them?
Gone.
I took them off.
Okay,
Yeah.
So it was wiped to basically foundation and floor joists.
And floor joists with the floor stacked too.
Okay.
Do you happen to have any pictures when you purchased the property?
I do.
The condition then?
I do.
Okay, could we see those?
Yeah.
That might help explain some of it to us.
Who do you want to start with?
Right over here, please.
Okay. Here you go.
You said you're 1,260 square feet
1260, 64, I think it is.
without the garage. It's just
It didn't have a garage.
no garage.
No.
So was this after they had, so they had a fire, is that what happened?
Yeah, just in the bathroom on the north side. They had a hole through there, clear up through the roof. And out in the country, there was coons in there, and I mean, it had to be cleaned out, and I couldn't see I'd be saving anything if I saved the damn walls.
What's your estimate of cost to rebuild?
I think I can get pretty close to 100 grand.
Plus the electrical and the well,
The well's all right there.
right, but you paid for that.
Yeah,
But that wouldn't,
But
the
that
well wouldn't be a cost to
You
rebuild.
can't have a house without a well.
got that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But technically, that's not a cost to rebuild, in my opinion,
Well, it is.
It's not part of the cost of rebuilding the house.
right? What, well,
Is this
what was
picture,
the reason you had to put a well in? Was it because that, was there, I mean, there had to be a well there previously, right?
yeah, but it was on the neighbors.
It's on the neighbors.
It does say, in the code section, it does refer directly to the structure. but-
Yeah, say, I don't,
Well, we
I don't
understand
see the
that
well
a
as
well
being,
would be I mean, you need water to live there, right? But it doesn't figure into the cost of that house.
correct. I would think so anyway, but
is that picture taken from what, the back side or the front side? Of the
That's the
street,
front,
That's-
the,
that-
yeah, the driveway.
faces the street, the road.
So
Don't face the
25
road.
feet to the highway.
No, she said that's not the highway in the front,
No.
that's not the highway?
Nope. That's the driveway.
The highway actually would sit, if you're
Uh-huh.
looking at that picture, if you're looking directly at it, the highway would actually sit on the right-hand side.
Over here.
Yeah. I pulled it up on a street view, if you wanna see what
can I have a picture?
what it currently looks like. That's just the foundation there with the first floor.
And this is a picture of what the assessor had for back in 2015, I think it was.
Again, the street, the road is on the left side of it.
I think it'll be the
Stella,
right side of that.
in your packet,
Still be,
see the highway
Yeah.
Okay,
and then how the house faces south
okay.
toward the driveway, like Dan said.
So the house basically faced the driveway, not the road.
That's correct.
Not like you would think it
Wood, yeah.
to the front of it.
We know about these other properties that are near there that are sitting along those, like the
I mean,
variance, and how that happened.
I wasn't
What's that
in
you're
code when
talking
they were
about,
built.
the other homes along the highway? Yeah, those would have all been built before there was
Variance.
well, there might have been a code, but the code has changed, so I would say those are all
yeah, the other,
older
the
homes.
closest one to it is to the north, and that is another old farmstead,
On the east side.
on the east side
Yeah.
of the road, correct?
Is that closer than the house to the south?
I think that one on the east to the north probably sits the closest, and I've driven that road a lot, so I know most of those houses.
So it looks like the one up to the east is about, sits at 50 feet off the road.
It's a little house too, yeah.
Yep.
What is the extent of your current reconstruction after you demo?
After I demo, well, clean everything off. I've got it covered now with plastic.
So it's still just basement foundation and a platform.
Yeah. Platform, you just gotta start standing walls up on it, put some trusses on it and go.
Is it, you said there's a basement in there?
Yes, full basement, nice basement,
It has a bathroom down there?
bathroom, shower. Well, I took the shower out because it's all dilapidated and old.
Mhm.
I want to put a new one in there.
What is the age of this house?
So it-
The assessor took the year it was constructed off. They just have it now, looks like they have it marked, maybe it's marked as this barn would be around, so they have it down as maybe 1950.
So what did they have it assessed at the last time that it was assessed?
45,000.
Yeah, that's, I can pull back up a historical year. Try to anyway.
It was built in 1958.
So it looks like as far back as we can see anyways, back to 2005, the highest assessment that the property had on it. And this could have been pre-split or something, but it looks like it might have been around.
You hold the 2022 property record card. There's
42.
a value on that one. Looks like it was. Dwelling was 79.2
79 too.
and looks like 2022. The March 27 one is the one I was looking at.
My question is, the structure is gone, so how do you go from there?
So if he could get it replaced he has 60% of that value, it's like $47,000. So if he has to spend more than that,
Probably
more,
not.
more than 60.
That value's probably the ground too.
Whatever it is. Yeah, it is. But
Oh, perfect, yeah.
he would be over that.
79,200.
So 60% of that,
To the assessor, which, I mean, if we're,
we thought we got to go on. That's a, just
Right.
put up for sale.
but I can guarantee you back in 2022, property like that would have been
I would think so.
$121,000, but.
What's the size of the ground?
1.32 acres.
acres.
Rough one.
It's a lot of work. Yeah. Never been scared of that.
Well, what makes it rough for us is you're asking forgiveness, not permission. You know, I don't know, how do we do that? You tore it down without permission, and you'd have known then that if you tore it down, you couldn't rebuild it, code-wise, I think, would he?
Yeah, we would have made sure that he understood it was a non-conforming structure. If you tear it down, then you're gonna be relocating the entire structure. Just can't clean it down to the foundation. I mean, because 60%, the way I look at it was, it's whether it's 60% damage or 6% of the replacement cost, whatever the case may be. I mean, now it's gone. I mean, the only thing that is there is a first floor. So even if you were to look at replacement costs of a structure, you have taken far more than 60% of the value, because by the time you put your walls back up, your plumbing, your electrical, your mechanical, roof, windows, doors, all of that cost put in there, I mean, we're far beyond the
Right.
60%.
The replacement cost, like, well, I guess within the city limits, if it's destroyed more than 50% of the structure, isn't that?
we do work with replacement costs, and we have worked with replacement costs, in the past on flood properties that have been out there. There were people, we red tagged their properties after the flood. So that's us looking at it saying it's more than 50% of the value of the structure damage. They would go out, because well, like we said, we only have the tax assessments to operate off of, right? So while they were enjoying low taxes at the time and their house was valued at $79,000, it's pretty easy to hit $40,000 in damage value to it. But then they would go, so then what they would do in the flood assessments was they would go back and get an appraisal of the property to say, no, our property was actually worth $250,000. So then they could do up to a certain amount of percentage of work to the property because it is in the flood reg, and the non-conforming is a lot like that. But in this instance, I mean, now that the structure's gone. So, I mean, there's not much more I could say other than, I mean, it was non-conforming, it's now gone. In order to reconstruct, it would have to be moved.
And you move the foundation, it's still there.
I understand the foundation's still
And
there.
it's still part of I don't care what the code says, it still is part of the building structure.
It is. So, I mean,
You gotta have a foundation.
right, if you look at the cost of building a new home, your foundation, I would say, is probably somewhere in the 25% range of what your total cost of the house is. I mean,
That's how big the house is and all that.
so you have 25% of the value sitting there in the ground, which, and I can agree with that, and you say it's still a good foundation, and I'm empathetic towards it, but by code, there's nothing that I can do to relieve what you've done.
I think you need to keep in mind that he's doing it himself, so 60% is, he gets everything at builder's cost, and he's doing his own labor. So he can replace it and be within the 60% threshold at his cost.
The only problem that I personally would have with interpreting it that way is that, you could take that all the way to volunteer labor, and I don't think that's really the intent of that 60% is to say, well, I could get the materials donated and I could do all the labor for free with friends and family. To me, that kind of violates that intent of setting a threshold for how much was damaged or demoed. That's how I would personally see that. Everybody is open to their own interpretation of that, the way that this is written, but that's the problem I would have with that labor argument.
Questions for Mr. Clare? Okay, thank you. All right, anybody else here to speak in favor? I don't see anybody else. Anybody opposed? See anybody opposed? Would you like to offer a closing statement?
Well, I just state from here,
Yep.
he's got two possibilities, a 60% threshold, and the other is that he wants a variance. And the other houses on that road are some closer, some about the same. So he isn't gonna look any different than any of the other houses nearby around that location. So I think it's justified and get a variance anyway, if you don't think he meets the 60% threshold. That's all I'd have to say.
Close public hearing. And second, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Matt, in the argument for the code and 75 setback, would that be a safety issue for the road or?
That's been the one that has come up for you all before, and it is to just kind of maintain that rural character of the area. There is some safety considerations to it. I wouldn't say that that's the biggest one because, then people will come back with you about the different elevations and where they sit higher than the road, lower than parts of it. Really just comes, and tonight, I mean, really the only thing that can be decided on is that necessarily the non-conformance structure of it, because I know that they submitted their letter with the two options on it, but I mean, they could come back and apply for a variance, but it wasn't applied for.
Right.
There's a cost associated with that application that goes with it. So But I felt like the code was pretty clear on the non-conforming structure aspect of it. It's one we've been up against before.
You have any other questions or comments? The group.
Does he read the recommendation or that's,
No, I think, well, I don't know if you have anything further, Matt, as far as the recommendation. I think we kind of heard from you, so.
I don't, my, cause it's an appeal of a
An
determination,
appeal,
right? And my determination has been that it's a non-conforming structure
Yeah.
and would need to come into compliance with current guidelines, and nothing has changed.
The motion?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I kind of feel, like Matt, I mean, the issue is that, I guess when Matt was involved, my feeling is when Matt got involved, it was more than 60%. So I don't know. I think you'd be best to come back and maybe ask for a variance. I don't know what your chances are there, but,
I thought we were doing that, one or the other with this appeal.
You asked for that, but I don't think in the letter is that right, Matt?
Correct. It was an option that they presented, but it was not applied for.
is that something that we can do? I was gonna ask Kristen. I don't think we can I don't
As
think we
I
can.
understand it, because this was not posted as a public hearing for the
For a
variance, that state code requirement was not met, so you would have to apply and.
So
get on
actually,
a meeting for a variance.
complete an application and come back before us for
And,
that.
and get it posted so that, public notice is made.
Neighboring
Gotcha.
property owners get notified.
Okay,
oh, yeah.
yep, that makes sense. So,
If
okay,
it- If
so,
it was just the application, we might be okay, but because of the posting requirements, that's what we
Right.
can't get around.
I understand that. I kind of figured as much. Okay,
I'll move to uphold the planning director's determination.
we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Anderson,
Yes.
Kai,
Yes.
Leaders,
Yes.
Herder.
Matt?
No other business.
You have any business next month yet? Do.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
So that's the 27th, that's the 27th? That's
Did you